he asked the Prophet ﷺ, and he said that, Ya Rasulullah, right now you're amongst us. You're alive, you're amongst us. Whenever we have any issue, we come to you directly. And we can ask you. We put our problems or circumstances in front of you. And accordingly you advise us. You advise us on things to do, what not to do, right? You're amongst us, you're a messenger of Allah. We come to you and you tell us. But Ya Rasulullah, what about in your absence? What about if something happens after you have gone from this world? What if we have issues? What shall we do then? What is the step forward? What is the solution, right? Who do we turn to guidance? Turn to for guidance. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he said to Ali radiallahu anhu, right? He said to him that put your problem in front of the scholars. Those people who have knowledge, right? Knowledge of that certain issue. Put your problem in front of them, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah on the tongue of the scholars. So go to people who actually have knowledge about that thing, experience about that thing, and put your issues in front of them. And this is Ali radiallahu anhu who is asking, right? So every day we make these decisions, right? When it comes to our financial issues, right? When it comes to our things to do about legal issues, right? We go to the appropriate people. Why not when it comes to our religious matters? We don't consult our scholars, right? Sometimes we don't just go on Google and just search it up on Google and we get some random, We should definitely try to seek answers from a scholar. Ask a scholar that comes to your masjid, or you know somebody personally, ask them. And if they don't know the answer, then they will ask other scholars. There's a massive network of scholars that they can ask and refer to, right? So they can get the proper answer for you, and that answer could be beneficial for you and your community, inshallah. Right, so this was for the mashwara, the shura side of things. Prophet ﷺ did it, and this was a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. There is something that I would like to mention at this junction. That when somebody comes to me for mashwara, it becomes my duty and my responsibility that I should seek khair and goodness for my fellow brother or sister. Right? I should want good for my brother and my sister. If they ask me for mashwara, then it is a demand and the moral obligation of every believer to his brother and sister, that when he comes to him for some input and advice on some matters, that and the strength of the knowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, right? Whatever, as far as you know, the knowledge that you have, you should give your consultation accordingly. And it should be for the good of that person according to the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. So this is something that we need to understand, that not giving wrong advice, right? Not giving wrong advice that it could possibly be detrimental to a person. And the last one, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? There's his advice, وَلَا عَالَ مَنْ اقْتَصَدَ, that a person who adopts moderation, this is the third one now. A person who adopts moderation in their life will not see poverty, right? Will not see poverty. Somebody who spends in moderation. There was a time when the Prophet ﷺ was sitting, and a boy came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the boy said that, put it in front of me. A boy came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said that my mother asks you for a shirt, a qamis. Right, at that time the Prophet ﷺ had nothing. He didn't have a shirt that he could give, except for the one that he was wearing, right? He didn't have any shirts. But this person asked, and people used to ask for all sorts of things. So somebody would come and grab the Prophet ﷺ, give me what Allah has given you. They would just grab him and ask him for these things. Sometimes they would have no adab, no etiquette. They would just grab him and say, "Oh Muhammad, give me what God gave you." People didn't, a lot of them would come from the countryside. The Bedouins would come and do these kind of things. They didn't have, the decency or the mannerism, and so they would do these kind of things. But this boy came and he said, "My mother asks you for a shirt." And so the Prophet ﷺ said, "Come some other time when we have enough means to respond to what your mother is asking for. So come some other time when we have it." So the boy went home and he told his mother what the Prophet ﷺ said. And so she returned him, and he said that my mother says that you kindly give her the very shirt that you have on your blessed body. So she came and the boy said that my mother's asking for the shirt that you're wearing. The Prophet ﷺ took off the shirt and he let him have it. Now his body was bare, he didn't have a shirt. The time for Salah happens, Bilal radiallahu anhu make adhan. But the Prophet ﷺ didn't come out for Salah. And people were worried. Like, what happened? And when some of them went in to check on the Prophet ﷺ, they saw him sitting there, bare body, without a shirt. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse in the Quran that وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَدَكَ فِي عُنُقِكَ إِلَى مَغْلُولَ, right? That don't tie your hand, don't put your hands up like this, right? This was a metaphor for being stingy. Like, don't tie your hands up here, that you don't give anything to anybody. وَلَا تَبْسُطْهَا كُلَّ الْبَسْطِ, and don't spread them out so much. You keep giving everybody everything that they're asking for, that at the end of the day you start having regrets, right? You start having regrets, and then you become overwhelmed with regret, right? So don't, you end up blamed, and you start having regrets, right? So the Prophet ﷺ was being given guidance by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this would happen a lot of times. The Prophet ﷺ would do something, he would make a decision, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, yeah, that probably wasn't the best decision, right? And it's recorded, and it's in the Quran till today. And so the Prophet ﷺ would put this and pass this verse of the Quran on to everybody else, because it's addressed to him, but the guidance is for everybody. That we don't become that stingy where we're never giving any money to anybody, and we don't become that generous that we're just giving everything away, that at the end of the day we start blaming ourselves. Taking a middle ground. Right? This is one of the qualities of the Ibadur Rahman. At the end of Surah Furqan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the Ibadur Rahman, the elite slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I mention slaves, is that a negative connotation? People are confused, right? Being a slave has a negative connotation when it comes to human beings. If I'm a slave of somebody, that's a negative connotation, right? That's negative. We know American history, right? Negative thing, and it's the Black History Month right now, we know about that. That's a negative thing. But when it comes to being a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a positive thing. It's a thing of honor. For Allah to call somebody his slave, I know the translation servant is also is used very often, but the word more fitting over here is slave, where we say, Ya Allah, you say, and we do. Right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of Surah Furqan, He talks about the elite slaves of the Rahman. And He gives qualities about them. That these are the people who are the proper ones, and these are the cream of the crop. And He gives a few qualities. One of those qualities is وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَنفَقُوا لَمْ يُسْرِفُوا وَلَمْ يَقْتُرُوا وَكَانَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ قَوَامًا. That those people who, when they spend, right, they're not stingy about it, they're not holding back, nor are they extravagant and they're just wasting away, but they take a middle path. They're right in the middle. And I talked about this in a khutbah that we did a few weeks ago about wealth, or a few months ago about wealth. And I apologize, I can't come out to Lake Travis as often, or in the current times, because I have a class that I teach after Jumu'ah prayer. So if I come out over here, then I kind of miss that period, so I'm unable to come, and I seek your apology for that. But we talked about wealth a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, and we talked about how extravagance could be spending even $1. Extravagance could be spending even $1, or extravagance could not be spending, let's say, $250,000 or $300,000, depending on what it is. Depending on what it is. So if I didn't really need something and I just threw money at it and I just got it, that would be considered israf. It would be considered waste. But if there was something that I needed and I put a lot of money into it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me the means to buy that comfortable thing, that good quality thing, the durable thing, and I put a lot of money into it, that wouldn't be considered israf. It wouldn't be considered waste. So we have to really navigate and understand what is considered waste and what is considered, actually spending and for ourselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to act upon these golden advices. They're really for the goodness of our lives. And they can be used on a daily basis, right? On a daily basis, we're constantly making decisions. We're constantly faced with decisions. If we cannot pray the Istheqara prayer, there's a small one. Allahumma khirli wakhtarli. There's a small little dua. Allahumma khirli wakhtarli. Choose good for me, Allah. Oh Allah, choose good for me and choose what is good for me. Right? Just Allahumma khirli wakhtarli. Make it good for me. That's all. Very small, concise dua. Even if it's something on the spur of the moment, you don't have time to make the Istheqara prayer 2 rak'at and we do dua. Small dua. Allahumma khirli wakhtarli. Allahumma khirli wakhtarli. It should be on your tongue. Allah, make it good for me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. Were there any questions? Yes.
Is the Halaqa only for like if you have some problem, or you can just do it in like even if you have no?
I mean, it's intended for when you want to take upon some matter, some issue, something, not an issue necessarily, some matter that you want to do, some action you want to undergo or overtake or to take on. A decision that you want to take on, right? In any sort of permissible matter. So I mean, if you were to recite it, then there's a portion that you say anna hadha al-amr, that you're thinking about that issue, right? That you're asking Allah for khair in that specific issue. So yes.
I was just going to ask about so the vision you said, but dream, or some people they think that if you're not getting any vision, and then it's meaningless. Exactly.
If you don't see any dreams or visions, that doesn't mean that Istheqara failed. No, that's not the deciding factor. The deciding factor is you have already made a decision to do this thing, or you want to do this thing, and so you continue praying the Istheqara prayer until there is a solution at the end of it. There is a conclusion at the end of it. So either that thing happens or doesn't happen. So for example, when I got engaged, right, I continued doing the Istheqara prayer until I got the actual nikah done. Right? Until I got the actual marriage done, right? You keep on doing it all the way till the end. It's not like, okay, they accepted the proposal, they accepted, nikah's not done yet. No. Continue doing it until there's an outcome. Either it happens or it doesn't happen. So I do Istheqara for a certain girl that I really liked in California. I did it until they said no. Right? And I got rejected and I was sad. But I thought about my Istheqara. I said, you know what? At least my Istheqara, alhamdulillah, inshallah, I've saved myself from something I don't know. Right? But I continued doing it until they said no. Yes?
You actually answered. I was asking about how many times should we do that?
Yeah, you keep doing it. It doesn't have to be at night only. It could be in the daytime. It could be at any time, right? As long as you can pray Salah, you pray 2 rak'ats, and just you can do it at any time. After the prayers, right? It's not the mandatory prayer, so we can't do it during Fajr Salah. But after other prayers, you can do it, right? When praying Salah is fine. Yes.
Sometimes we don't have, like, for example, if a person, a girl wants to marry someone, and we know that she wants or both of them.
Yes.
And we don't have that option of saying no to. But still we should do this.
Absolutely. Well, something might happen in between them that they feel like themselves that something is not correct over here and they themselves back out from it. So you as parents can do it for your child. Why not? And they should do it themselves. We should ask our children to do it themselves. And we can do it for them as well. That, Ya Allah, if you know that this thing is right for my daughter or my son, Ya Allah, let it happen. As long as you don't put hindrance without a justified Islamic reason. Right? That's also important. Yes.
Is any example from the Khulafai Rashidin they performed Istheqara?
Is there an example from the Khulafai Rashidin? I don't have anything on top of my head right now. If they performed it for something, and it's a very good one. I'll have to do some homework on that, research on that, inshallah. If I find something, inshallah, I'll share it. Inshallah. Yes.
What about between husband and wife? She gets it right and he gets it wrong. So what's the decision?
Well, the outcome, yeah, that's a good. You mean after they get married or before they get married? Huh? Oh, by the way, I was going to speak to you about this. Okay, but I want to answer your question first. Yeah, so before they get married, or either or. So, well, see, that's when we know that Istheqara is in action. When somebody's heart is turning away, somebody's is coming negative, right? If it was coming positive, then everybody's on the same page. Everybody's coming together. That's when we know that it's becoming positive.
Let me rephrase this question.
Yes.
Suppose the daughter is getting married, and both parents do this Istheqara for her.
Yes.
And what he's saying is that, maybe the mother sees everything is okay, the father sees everything is not okay. Well, because you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it is not good, it's not going to go through.
It's not going to go through. Yeah.
Right? It doesn't have anything to do with what you feel.
Yeah.
It's not going to go
It's not
through.
going to go through because there is
Or it's
something.
going to go through.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing.
That's when we know the Istheqara is in action, because somebody is saying, I'm not comfortable with this. Something is wrong over here, that we're not, that we don't want to do it. I wanted to talk about this, by the way, because mashallah, a lot of people have been married for a long time in this room. We have to ask ourselves that question, even though we've been married for so many years. Am I a source of good? Am I bringing good into the life of my partner when it comes to their dunya? Yes. Alhamdulillah, I provide for them, and or we make each other's lives really nice. We help each other out, and we make all right. Am I being good for their dunya? Yes. How about their deen? Am I being a hindrance for my family's deen? Or am I being somebody who is trying to elevate everybody? Right? So now, even after we've been married for so many years, these three things should still be in our minds. That I have married this person, now am I still being a source of khair and goodness for my family's dunya, deen and akhirah? Or not? We have to ask ourselves these questions on a regular basis. Yes?
What about buying stock?
Yeah, sure. Why not? As long as it's a thing, maybe the price will drop and you go and you buy it. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. You should definitely do Istheqara whatever you can, especially if it's a massive amount. If it's going to be a huge amount. Yeah. If it's going to be a massive amount, do your due diligence, right? Do all the homework and everything, and do Istheqara prayer, and then inshallah go for it. Sometimes people invest in startup companies and all these things. Absolutely. This is for that. And you can do mashwara as well. People that have some kind of, maybe some information or inside knowledge, I don't know, insider trading.
Is it obligatory to follow Istheqara once you see something or you feel something?
Absolutely not. No. It's not obligatory to do or follow anything that you see, or that's what you're asking Allah. Hey Allah, if it's good for me, let it happen. Let it just fall into place. If it's not good for me, don't let it happen. Then you will see something, obstacles will start coming up. Things will pop up, and you're like, you know what? This is a red flag over here. I don't want to get into this, right? That's essentially what you're like for in the stocks. You might see something coming up. You're like, you know what? This is a red flag. I don't want to get into this, and so you back out of it. And so when that thing actually happens, at the end of it, you don't have the regret. You say, yeah, you know what? Inshallah, there's khair inside of this thing that happened.
I've done my homework.
I've done my homework. Yeah, you've done your due diligence.
Sometimes what happens is you make the Istheqara, but it fails.
Yes.
That's good for you.
Yes, so that's what it is. So we remember, as believers, as Muslims, we know that وَالْقَدْرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, right? We know that destiny, good and bad, is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that happens in our lives is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Everything is after, maybe
Yes.
2 to 3 years down the road, you bought a book and you, based on the Istheqara you went through. Right?
Yes.
Maybe 3-4 years later, it fails.
It fails. That's fine.
So that's good for you too.
It's still. We would still say that this was no. We will still say this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That for whatever reason, right now this is not gone through. It's still from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We would still have that. So maybe it's a test, or we still have sabr on that at the end of it, because Istheqara, don't get me wrong. Istheqara doesn't mean that now the life on earth is Jannat, right? Life is not going to become Jannat by doing Istheqara, obviously everything. But there will be khair in it for you, and we have to believe it and have conviction in that. There is good in it for us, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. I think we should. I don't know if we should make a small little dua at the end of our gatherings, right? We should have a small little dua, inshallah. Yes, you had a question?
Completely off topic, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Just this khutbah, he said that Surah Kahf you should do on Friday is very barakah. If you do Thursday night after Isha, is that counted as?
Sure, absolutely. After Maghrib. As soon as Maghrib, yeah, inshallah. After Maghrib, that's when, Jumu'ah, that's what they call Jumeirah, right? Jumu'ah night.
After Maghrib to the Maghrib.
To Maghrib, yeah.
So now it's Saturday.
Yeah. That's two things that we should remember. Like as soon as Maghrib starts on Thursday, then that's Jumu'ah day has started. But it's recommended to do the ghusl on Friday morning, like actual morning. or Friday time, the daytime, not the night before. That's the recommended thing. But the day actually starts after Maghrib. Ghusl shower.
Yeah, but Surah Al-Kahf you can do in.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, you can if you want to. And then the moments before the day finishes, after Asr Salah today, right? After Asr Salah till Maghrib is a very, very blessed time, and we should take out some moments to do dhikr, to send salawat on the Prophet ﷺ, and make dua. There's special times, special moments of the day, just before Maghrib, just before Friday is about to finish. It's a very special time. They say that there's a moment of acceptance, right? There's a moment of acceptance that happens on Friday, and a lot of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they said that this was just before the day finished. Others said it was between the two khutbahs, when the Imam sits down. And the other said, no, either that, so you do it both times, right? Why not? Do it both times. Do it between the Imam sitting down, do quietly make dua when the Imam sits down between the two khutbahs, and just before Maghrib prayer on Fridays. So today, just before Maghrib. Okay, inshallah, let's do a quick dua, inshallah. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله وإليك يرجع الأمر كله علانيته وسره. اللهم لك الحمد حتى ترضى ولك الحمد بعد رضاه ولك الحمد إذا رضيت. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين واجعلنا من الفائزين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك.